about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." Then they asked him, "Teacher, when will this happen? And what sign will be there when all these things are about to happen?" He answered, "See that you are not be deceived. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and the time has come. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for such things must happen first, but it will not immediately be the end." Then he said to them, "Nations will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, and plagues from place to place. And awesome sights and mighty signs will come from the sky. Before all this happens, however, they will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking, that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refuse. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. For your perseverance, you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. My dear friends in Christ, we are getting to the end of the liturgical year of the church. And so our readings is recapping all the activities we've gone through throughout the year, setting our mind upon the end times. And when we hear about the end of life or the end of the age, sometimes we are terrified and troubled, especially hearing the words of Jesus in the gospel about the tragedy and the calamity and the mighty things that will happen before the end of the age. In the same way, the first reading, the prophet Malachi, talks about days that are coming, that the challenges will be like a blazing oven. When you hear words like this, sometimes your heart beats and you are shaking. So these words are not to threaten us, but they are very consoling words. And so today I want us to reflect on how we can build our spiritual temples. How we can build our spiritual life in such a way that we can persevere. For Jesus concluded, by your perseverance, you will secure your lives. My dear friends, why would Jesus speak to the people who were admiring the temple in Jerusalem? He says to them, these things you are so admiring. There will be a day that not even a single stone will be left on another stone. But before you can appreciate this, you have to know the essence of the temple to the Jewish people. The Solomon's temple in Jerusalem was the center of their lives. It was their soul and it was the life of the people, the Jewish people at that time. All because they had no governance system like we have today. God was their everything. And the temple was the presence of God in their midst. And so the temple was their source of strength. It was their source of hope. It was their security. It was their place of refuge. It was where they sought for comfort. Their life totally depended on the temple. Even sometimes that was where they went to do their commercial businesses. So the temple was something that was dear to their heart. Their livelihood depended on it. And here comes Jesus speaking to them. The very thing that you rely upon, there will be a day that it will never exist. Imagine finding yourself in that situation. What would have been your initial reaction? You will be shaking. And the people were shocked to hear Jesus speaking about the temple like that. And this temple took 46 years to be built. And you know, when Jesus was being tried from the Good Friday readings, one of his accusations was that he said he would destroy the temple. So if they accuse Jesus because he has said he would destroy the temple, it means how the temple was dear to their lives. So it was part of the central thing that led to the crucifixion of Jesus. But when you read the Gospel of John chapter 2, verse 21, it says, Jesus was referring to the temple of his body, not the actual building at that time. And so today, Jesus is speaking to them. And all that Jesus was saying is that the end will come. Glorifying the beauty of this temple, how gorgeous and how magnificent it is, should lead you to build a spiritual temple. This temple you adore, you worship, how is it preparing you to build a spiritual temple for yourself, where you will dwell forever? And that is where I want all of us to look at. As we sit here in this church, what is your total security? What temple have you built for yourself? Is it just a normal human man-made temple? Or you have another temple where you think you feel more secure? So not every temple is built with stones and marbles. We can build temples of different kinds. For some people, their temple in life is their profession, their job. Their job is everything. It comes first and it comes last. And so once they lose their job, it's like their temple has collapsed. For some people, their temple is their marriage, their family, their children. So if my marriage collapses, I am done. I need to die. I need to hang myself. Some people, their temple is their property. Their wealth is their temple. That is the only place they find security, they find comfort, they find refuge, and they find solace. Jesus is speaking to us today that all these things are good. Marriage is good, family life is good, having a good profession is good. But all these things are temporal. Everything we see on this earth, everything we admire so much is temporal. It's to help us to live a comfortable life in order to build a spiritual temple where our soul and our spirit will dwell forever. And so these people who were going to the Jerusalem temple each year by year, they went there, they admired the temple, they saw it as a place or dwelling place of God. But was their heart in the worship that they had? Or they just went there for tourism? They went there for fellowship. They went there for fun. But were they building a spiritual home for themselves? And so Jesus is saying to us, when we hear about wars, when we hear about calamities, when we hear about tragedies, we shouldn't be terrified. Why shouldn't we be terrified? Well, because he says, whatever we pass through, we shouldn't think that that will lead us to the end of our lives. We shouldn't be terrified because we have built a spiritual temple for ourselves. We have fortified ourselves by the grace and the power of God. And so that is where we need to get utmost and total security. Utmost and total security can only come from God. And that is why Jesus says, we may be persecuted, even by family and relatives. Everybody may desert you. He, the Lord, will never desert you. It's like the prophet Malachi in our first reading. He says, those who have done evil deeds, they will suffer in the blazing oven. By those who fear the name of the Lord, the rays and the sun of God will shine upon them. And so, my dear friends, building spiritual temples for ourselves means allowing God and the Holy Spirit to take possession of us. So that when the going and life becomes so challenging, we know that we have a God in whom we trust, in whom we live, in whom we have our being, in whom we can survive and can exist. And so if each year we gather in this church, it's a means for us to fortify ourselves, to build our spiritual temples, so that when calamity and tragedies come, we will not throw ourselves into despair, but we will stand firm, knowing and trusting that our God will secure our lives. And so spiritual temple is built by prayer. If you pray and you commit yourself to God, you know that your God will protect and guide you. Building spiritual temple means living a life of holiness and righteousness. When you dwell in the spirit of holiness and righteousness, you are walking side by side with God. And that is why the prophet Malachi will say, those who fear the name of the Lord, those who live a holy and a righteous life, the Lord will secure and protect them. Building a spiritual temple for yourself. Let holiness and righteousness be your garment. Wear it every day. Building a spiritual temple against means living a life of faith and hope. You know, when there is a calamity and there is a challenge or there is a tumor, most people die because of lack of faith, because of lack of hope. I've seen people who, when even their marriages collapses, they think that they have lost every hope, and so they hang themselves. There are people whose businesses collapses, and they think that all hope is gone, and so they can't cope and they end their lives. There are people that even when they are cut from family support, they think that their end has come, they can't survive, they end their lives. But those who build spiritual temples for themselves, who have faith and hope, no matter the struggles, no matter the challenge, they know that things can turn around. They believe in themselves that no condition is permanent. That whatever the challenge and the struggle is, it shall come to pass. Today I want you to develop that conviction for yourself. That if even you are sick today, it shall pass. If even there is an earthquake and tsunami, it shall come to pass. COVID-19 came, it has come to pass. There were people who thought COVID was going to wipe away every human race. And most people died not out of the sickness, but out of the fear and the shock of it. But those of us who have built spiritual temples for ourselves, who are courageous in the Lord, we walk on the surface of the earth. Even yes, some people are locked in their rooms, fear of COVID. They can't even come out to fellowship and to worship. So this is the spiritual temple we need to build. Having faith and hope. Because hope will never disappoint you. If you hope in the Lord, you will never lack any spiritual blessing. So building a spiritual temple for ourselves means building your life on a solid rock, who is Jesus. Now you read Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 to 27. Jesus says, those who build their houses on a rock like him, there will be earthquake, there will be rainy storm, but it will stand. It will never fall. Because that building has a rock as its foundation. What is the foundation of your life? Are you building your spiritual life on the foundation of Jesus Christ, who is the rock of ages? If Jesus is your rock, my dear friend, no matter the challenge and the obstacles that you may encounter, you may succeed. And so building perseverance is trusting in the Lord and having total hope in Him. That no matter the calamity and the challenges and the struggles we face in this world, we shall secure our lives. We can never be persevering when we fold our arms. It's like Paul's letter to the Thessalonians. He says, some of you are idle, and we encourage you to work. My dear friends, let us work and build our spiritual temples that will last forever. You may be shaken, people will persecute you, people will malign you, but because your foundation is Jesus, the rock of ages, you will never throw yourself into despair. Never be terrified by any calamity that is around you and in the world. Every generation has its own troubles and tragedies, but people always survive it. If even there is a challenge and one person will survive, know that it can be you. So have that hope and have that conviction and always trust in your Lord. Build your spiritual temple by living a life of holiness and righteousness. Build your spiritual temple by deepening your faith and your hope in Jesus. Build your spiritual temple on the foundation of a rock, who is Jesus. Paul will say, if the Lord is for us, what can be against us? If the Lord has taken possession of your life, what on this earth shall be against you? Whatever you have and whatever you are doing, let Jesus be the pillar of your life. Because at the end of the day, everything we see around us, the beauty we see, will be destroyed. But the only thing that will be left is our spiritual temple, our faith and our trust in our God. May God help us, and may He continue to guide and protect us, and may He deepen our trust in Him, so that we will build our spiritual temples, where we will dwell with Him forever and ever.